Afternoon and welcome to the session. My name is Jennifer Rempel, and I haven't introduced myself yet, so yes, I'm the Information Literacy and Resource Access Librarian here at AU Library. So today our session will be relatively brief, 30 minutes, just a quick intro to the library, which again, you can build upon this introduction in our later sessions. But we'll talk about library terminology briefly. We will, of course, go over navigating the AU Library website. I will show you where to find databases and the catalog, and then where to get library help. So we're not going to go into specifics about searching today. That'll be for our later sessions, as I mentioned, and you can find the links to those sessions in chat as well. Okay, so in this session, what we'll start with is, what can you find in a library catalog? What can you find in databases? And what are journals and journal articles? So in the chat, can anybody state what you can find in a library catalog? Anybody know what you might find in a catalog? So I will let you answer in chat. Hopefully you can see that. What can you find in a catalog? Anybody have any ideas? Pretty close. So all LDMs have the library sources. Yes. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Good answers. So in a catalog. What about a database? Data, yeah. It's actually, yeah, it's true. You would find data in database, but it's a little bit confusing because there is very specific library terminology that you do have to, if you can't see chat, you should see a chat button at the top of your window that you could pop out on the side. Because I can see, oh, you can't see it. I'm not sure why, because you can, I'm able to see your chats, but all right. So anyway, back to the presentation. So essentially, the catalog is different from databases. So a catalog, it's pretty close. It's all items that the library owns. Typically, these are going to be physical items. So yes, in Athabasca, in town, we do have a physical library where we have people working, and we're open a couple days a week. I think one day a week now. But there we have our print books. The catalog does contain our ebooks, even though they're not physical, but you will find them through our library catalog, which I will show you later. You can also find things like DVDs, science kits, science models, psychology kits, that kind of stuff. So for the most part in a catalog, you're going to find physical items and ebooks. So think books, don't think so much articles, because the databases, again, it is data, but again, it's a broad term for places where you're going to find articles. So we have a lot of books in our print collection. We have about 150,000 books. I'll tell you how to get to those later. And we have over 300,000 ebooks. So of course our collection is focused on electronic resources. And when it comes to databases, we subscribe to about 250 different databases. So you might have heard of JSTOR or PsycInfo, that kind of thing. We subscribe to about 250 of those. So we have millions of articles you can access. So just to cover some of the terminology really quickly, in case some of you are new to this or not familiar, it is an introductory session. So again, an article, a scholarly article in particular, like of course newspaper articles exist, periodicals, magazine articles. Typically you're going to be looking for scholarly articles, which are original studies that were written by experts, right? So, you know, your scientists, your doctors, that kind of thing. Your academics are going to write their original studies. Historians, okay? So when they've written their articles, they're going to publish them in journals. So specifically in a journal about a specific topic. Journals are sometimes called scholarly journals, and they're sometimes called periodicals because they're published on a periodic basis. So once a month is pretty typical, once every quarter, that kind of thing. Oh, and I do see a question. Yes, the PowerPoint, I can make it available after the presentation for sure. Yeah, just let me know and I can email it to you. Okay, and then of course, articles are published within journals, and journals are then collected into giant databases. These are collections of journals, usually hundreds of them, that publishers have put together that you can search then through a library. We're going to go now to the library homepage, so I'm going to just stop recording and I'll share my screen instead. Okay, and can everybody now see now when I'm in live sharing, I can't see chat as easily, so do let me know. I'll just see if hopefully everybody can see my screen, and of course, yeah, I'm not able to see the chat here, but
yeah, we can.
Oh, you could, okay, perfect, yes, thank you. Okay, good. Thanks for using your microphone there, much appreciated. Okay, so now that we're on the website, I'll just start going through some various things. What we're going to start with is where to search for things you need. So in this case, as you can see here, we'll talk about the top things here in a moment, but we'll look at our search tools. So Discover. Next week, I will talk much more about Discover. Next week is all about finding full text. Most students are going to start their search in Discover. It's a bit confusing because it's not a database and it's not a catalog, it's a search tool. So essentially, Discover is a tool that searches in most, but not all, of our different databases, because as I will get to later, we have a variety of databases that you can search. Discover allows you to search most of them, but not all of them. I'll do a really brief demo. So here, really quick search. I want to look for social media and misinformation or disinformation. So real quick one here, I'll just show you what Discover looks like when you do a search in case you're not familiar. So basically what this search is it searches most of our databases, crucially, not all of them. It searches most of our databases as well as our library catalog at the same time. Typically, I would say you're going to want to search catalogs and databases separately, but in this case, this is what they call a federated search, where you can search a variety of things. So not only will you see, and of course, lots and lots of material, you can see millions of articles, hundreds of thousands of articles you have available to you. In this case, it is searching the catalog and our collections of journals. You can filter your results to be scholarly only, because then articles might include news articles or magazine articles. So yes, this briefly what Discover looks like. Again, this isn't the searching session. We'll get to that at another date. But in this case, you can just see what the results look like. Thousands of articles. We have videos from some of our database providers. You have our catalog. We can see what books we have, that kind of stuff. Now, if we go back and do scholarly article search, this is exactly the same thing as the Discover search, except for it already has the scholarly articles limiter pre-selected. So basically, if you know you only want articles, you don't care what else is out there, scholarly article search, you can see, has that pre-selected. So minor difference there, but it's the same tool essentially. Journal titles is where it gets a little bit different, because with journal titles, of course, this is a very, very useful for you, especially next week, finding full text. This is a list, the journal titles list is a list of every single journal we subscribe to. So it could be Journal of the American Medical Association, Canadian Historical Society Journal, that kind of thing. So any published journals, Shakespeare Quarterly, you can find journals we subscribe to in this list. So again, quick example. I had somebody who needed the Journal of Clinical Nursing. Do we have access to it? Easiest way, journal title search. Again, it's the title of the journal, not an article, and then do a search. One thing to be aware of with the journal title search is it's very picky. So it does not do best match. So you have to have it exactly correct. If I have Journal of Clinical Nurse and it's incorrect, it's a typo, it won't show up as having a result. So just be careful of that. But this is your definitive list of journals the library subscribes to, and it tells you where. So if I want to go look at this journal, I can see you have issues from 97 to the present in Wiley-Blackwell. So then I would click on that. This would then take me into the database. So I would be searching in this journal specifically within the Wiley collection. So basically it's taking you to the journals page within the broader database. So I hope that's clear. And I hope a lot of you are able to attend our search and full text sessions next week, because we'll get into more detail about that. But that's essentially how the journal title search works. And finally, the library catalog, of course. This is where you're going to find all of our books and ebooks. So I do recommend, if you're specifically looking for books, now if you're in history, studying the humanities, typically a lot of that research is in book format as opposed to, well, and articles, but the humanities generally tend to have longer form publications. But the library catalog is specifically where you look for books. You're going to want to use slightly less complicated searches because, of course, when you're doing a Discover search or database search, there's millions of articles and you have to be very particular. The catalog is much more limited. We only have about 100,000, 150,000 books. Well, we have more, well, about 500,000 books and ebooks total. So in this search, I'll do a basic one for social media. Now, this is our library catalog looking for books and ebooks. So here you can see we do have books, and ebooks are indicated through this icon. Most of them are ebooks. Print books are indicated with a print icon, which I'm not seeing any here right now because most of them are ebooks. You can modify your search to only print, but regardless, if you're looking for a specific book in our collection, best bet is to go through the catalog. Next week, of course, because books are challenging to get sometimes, I will talk more about books and articles in full text. So That's where we'll go next week. For at the moment, we're just kind of briefly looking at search tools. And again, if you continue on the right, we do have our chat service. It is functioning right now, so if you want to get real-time help from a librarian, again, we're only offering it currently twice a week for 4 hours a day, so 8 hours a week, just because we're a little bit understaffed. But this is where you'd go to ask a chat question. Oh, and if you see that, try again, because that's not great. Let me see. Let me refresh. Ask us chat. Okay, and then the chat. Okay, here we go. So that's a good lesson for you. If the chat box doesn't work, refresh the page. You might have to do that fairly often on our library website. But there you go. Okay, so now that we've discovered sort of our search tools, I do want to show you then how to find specific databases. So again, maybe if you're a historian, a history student, maybe you need to look in a psychology database. You can find our individual databases here under Find Databases. If you go here, so again, a bit redundant, click on this or digital collections. We'll talk about that in a sec. So Find Databases. This is a list, again, of every database the library either links to or subscribes to. We are working on this. It's a pretty unwieldy list right now. But for example, you can filter by topic. So if you are looking specifically for newspapers, you can look for newspapers. These are types. So if you want ebooks, directories, and almanacs, that kind of thing. In general, you're going to be wanting journal article databases. And typically, it can help to filter by subject. So if you are studying history, economics, engineering, you can filter by subject area. So there are quite a few ways to find things. If there's a specific database you want, a lot of people use JSTOR, for example. It's a really good humanities collection. Just do a search, and there you are. I specifically want to point out, though, our ProQuest Global. So ProQuest collections are very good databases, actually really excellent. They're pretty competitive with EBSCO on the same level, if not better, same quality. But because ProQuest is a competitor with EBSCO, EBSCO doesn't like to share their metadata. So basically, Discover will not search ProQuest databases. So to search in ProQuest, which are very good, you can use a ProQuest search. Oh, sorry. I'll go back to that later. You can use a ProQuest search link in Discover. You can go directly to what we call ProQuest Global and do a search there. So this searches all of our ProQuest collections at once. Particularly useful for Canadian topics and for nursing because they have ProQuest Nursing and Allied Health. So a couple of ways to search. These are the databases I'd recommend the most, is ProQuest and then searching in Discover, or searching within a specific database according to your subject area. We'll get into some of our LibGuides later too, and I can kind of show you where you can find some subject guides, but we'll do that later. But basically, yes, if you need, there's a database you need. Nurses like to use CINAHL, for example, or you have PsycInfo for psychology, all kinds of things. So again, specific databases under Find Databases, click that again, and then you can filter in a few ways or just search for what you want. Digital collections, now this gets slightly different. Digital collections are also, again, separate from all of our databases and search tools. What these are institutional repositories. So basically, Digital Reading Room is where we store all of your course readings that are linked in our database collections or online. So Digital Reading Room, typically your course Moodle and Brightspace pages will have direct links, but you can also go to the DRR and find your course there. If you're looking at other student theses from the past, theses and projects, you can go to dTheses or DTPR. We also have a digitization portal. This is going to be more relevant depending on what course you're in. Sometimes your faculty will have items in here, and our AU space. So we have quite a few repositories. We are working on combining them, but for now, that's where you can find those. Also useful is how to use the library. I kind of just recommend this page as an overview. So you can either go there or go to Borrowing Resources, and this just shows you a couple of things. So this is our main how to use the library. So this is an orientation to the website. We have more information on borrowing. So essentially, we do have our physical books. If you want to borrow a physical book from our catalog, you can just request it, and we'll send it to you in the mail. So what we do is we will check the book out in your account, send it to you in the mail. It goes through Canada Post. The borrowing period is about a month, and you can renew twice after that. So the book, you can have it for about 3 months. We send it to you in the mail. You get a return shipping label. So when you're done with the book and you want to return it to us, you just put the label on, put it in the mailbox, and you're good to go. So there are ways to borrow materials that we have. Just more instruction on search tools, that kind of thing. So how to use the library, more or less useful, but what is the most useful is under Get Library Support. I would say like bookmark this page, guides, tutorials, and webinars. And maybe our frequently asked questions, but guides, tutorials, and webinars. This is where we have useful instructional resources because again, you're in this session today, which is great because it shows you're interested in the library and want to make full use of it. But of course, there's many things to learn, a lot of complexity, so we can't teach you everything in one 30-minute session, which is why we're doing like a whole series. But here you can see if you want to teach yourself some more material on using the library. So things like planning your research, like how to get started. So I would highlight our guide to the research process. This kind of is your go-to guide for kind of everything. So it just shows you how to get started, how to set up your assignment. We have some mini courses, recordings, search strategy tips, all kinds of stuff. So I would highly recommend this. Oops, I keep having too many windows open. So I would highly recommend the guide to the research process, glossary of terms and phrases. Search Like a Pro is a little mini course, takes about a half hour. Search Like a Pro, that session is happening in 2 weeks. My colleague Joanna is teaching that one. Really good in-depth search webinar there. Okay, so just finding accessing. So catalog tutorials, specific tutorials on Discover, interlibrary loans. What we will talk about next week in Finding Full Text is what if the library doesn't have what you need? Because of course, we're a pretty tiny library. We don't have everything or anywhere near everything, and no library really does. So if there are book chapters or articles that you need that the library doesn't have, like if we don't subscribe to that journal, don't pay for it. And that's what I actually want to make it clear. One of the main takeaways from this session is never pay for anything. If you run into a paywall online for an article or a book chapter, don't pay for it. We can probably get it for you. So essentially, if there's an item we don't have, we get in touch with another library, they send us the article through email, and we email you the link. And it takes, usually, if it's a basic journal article, it takes a couple days. I use it pretty often, pretty fast, very useful. So I highlight the interlibrary loans. And again, next week we'll talk about that some more. So again, just a lot of guides searching how to search things, how to search ProQuest, that kind of thing, evaluating sources, also useful. The peer review guide, I have links to this also in that handout I sent to you. I also want to point out, we have a lot of other guides here, but particularly guides by subject area or topic. So we don't have guides for everything, unfortunately, but if you're in any of these subject areas, you can see we do have guides for you, the ones that are particularly popular. So for example, nursing and health studies, what you can see in these guides is we tried to put lists together of the most useful resources. So in this case, databases and collections, we have a huge list of databases, but here are the best ones for nursing that we've put together. You can see CINAHL, Cochrane, Medline, ProQuest, all these things. So we've tried to do that where we can. So business, psychology, that kind of stuff. So if you're in any of those main subject areas, there's a guide there for you to use. So essentially that's what our library contains in terms of instruction. Tons of instructional material and also just useful things too. Other guides we've created just that are a little bit unique or special. So we have all that material there for you to look at if you need help. We also have the frequently asked questions here. These are just FAQs. These are for basic ones. How do I renew books? Why doesn't Discover link work, like persistent links? All kinds of just like smaller questions that we don't need a whole guide for, but that you can find the answer to really quickly. So again, I would really suggest highlighting guides, tutorials, and webinars, and coming back to the FAQ page. Fixing technical problems. One of the challenges with managing a huge collection of databases is links getting broken. So sometimes you will see full text links break down and we didn't catch it quite in time. Or if you are a frequent library user, if you use the library website a lot, cookies tend to add up. And so you'll frequently need, maybe every once in a while, it could be helpful to clear your cache and cookies. So our library tech support guide, we have a whole chapter on clearing cache and cookies just in case, because it's something that you have to do fairly often. It's just one of the realities of technology these days. So yeah. All right, so there's that. So just basically where to get library support. And then finally, about AU Library, this is just sort of who our staff are, our policies, alumni, community borrowers, that kind of thing. In particular, a particular use for you rather is our Contact Us page. So this is just our address, hours, voicemail, so you can call us too. We do operate on business hours in Alberta, so 8:30 to 4:30 Mountain Time. You can leave us a voicemail whenever. You can email us whenever. Like I said, chat currently is, I believe, just Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10:30 to 2:30, just because we're a bit understaffed. But hopefully, as the fall progresses, we'll get more staff on board too. And then, yeah, you can call us, you can email us. Honestly, to get in touch, emailing is the best way because we have somebody monitoring the email all through our business hours. Like I said, you could leave a voicemail in the middle of the night, but nobody might hear it. So just FYI on that. And then we have some forums. So if you need help with your research topics, all these things. So in general, my first takeaway is never pay for anything. Get in touch with us first. Second takeaway is we are here to help. Any questions you have at all, just get in touch with us because a lot of students, how many students I've helped on chat or through email, and they said, oh man, I wish I knew about the library a year ago. It would have been so much so much more helpful. So yeah, get in touch whenever you need help. So again, we do have one reference librarian right now, and I do some backup. So if you have a research question that you're really struggling with, we always suggest, try it out first. Go do some searches, see what you can find. If you're really, really struggling with your topic, with your search, with getting a full text item, if there's like a weird technical problem that you can't resolve, like just get in touch with us. Like we are totally here to help you and are really happy to do so. So yeah, as I go and I look at my notes, I see that we're getting to the end of our session. So I think what I'll do now is I will stop sharing and I will just open it up for any questions anybody might have. Oh,
Yeah, I just posted one.
Okay, so I do see some things where I've missed. Okay, let me go back to chat. Okay, I'm just looking at our chat info here, or sorry, chat questions. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll go through all the questions I have in chat because I see there are quite a few that I wasn't able to get to. Okay, so yes, anybody who's registered, what I'll try and do is I will try and send you a copy of the handout and a PowerPoint of the session for today. The PowerPoint does not include detailed screenshots, but again, we're recording the session and the recording will be posted on our YouTube channel. As for physical textbooks for courses, no, typically in libraries, publishers don't like it when libraries provide the updated edition of the textbook because it's less money for them. And actually, at AU, the library does not provide course required materials in terms of textbooks. We will provide course required links to journal articles that we subscribe to. Sometimes we can get access to streaming videos, but your course materials, you would have to purchase those individually or get in touch with Course Materials Management. I believe that's CMAT at Athabasca. But yes, unfortunately, we don't provide physical textbooks for courses. A list of what journals we have access to. Yeah, we don't have a list that you can like browse just because we subscribe to literally hundreds of thousands of journals. So we don't have like a breakdown list. The best way to do it is if you have a journal in mind, do a journal title search and we'll see if we have it. Theoretically, there's like a database in working in the back end that has all the journals we subscribe to, but we don't have actual a list. Oh, sorry, and I see a hand, Monique, raised. Hi.
Yeah, hi. Could you go back to where I was trying to follow along just quickly where you were showing the list of databases with regards to journals by subject area? You deep dove into
Yes.
the missing one, and I couldn't. Oh, you were under databases.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, this is where the library terminology is very particular because, again, it's really important to distinguish between databases and journals. So databases that are journal collections, of course, you'd find it under the Find Databases list. So here, and then you could see which different subjects we have, like topic areas that journal databases will fall under. If you
That's
want to
what
look
I'm after.
yeah,
The journal database. Yeah.
so if you want a specific journal,
No,
so like
I wanted your journal databases.
Yep, that's all of them right there. Yep. So depending what topic area you're in,
Okay.
you can search an individual. Yeah, so you can search in individual databases. So It's a bit confusing. So, I mean, I'll talk a bit more about Discover next time, but basically, as I said, Discover is good for a general first search to see what materials out there on your topic. If you are doing advanced, like graduate level research, like scoping reviews or literature reviews, you do not want to use Discover because essentially it's pulling in metadata. It's not connected to our databases specifically. Basically, we have our databases in one layer. Discover is a second search layer that just pulls metadata out, and it pulls it from the web and from our catalog and from our databases. So Discover basically is a whole pile of metadata that you're searching through that the library may or may not have access to, right? So again, next week
Okay.
we'll talk about that in more detail. But it's a good place to search because it shows you what's out there in general. If you're not finding a lot of full text on your topic, if you are doing psychology research or nursing research or business, then you're going to want to go to a specific, more specialized database because the specialized databases also have specific parameters. So for example, I think CINAHL, you can specifically filter out to evidence-based practice, right? So they have much more subject-specific parameters, and like the health databases have their medical subject headings as well, which normal
Okay.
databases don't and Discover doesn't. So yes, so general searching
Okay.
within our collection databases
No,
is going to be Discover or these.
I'm
Yeah.
looking for more specific. So then it's under the database and
Yep.
someone could advise me on some of the best databases then if I get in contact with the
Yes.
librarian.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I'm
Yeah.
hoping to narrow it into something.
Okay.
I've been just spinning. So there's a lot of information.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, that's the challenge, right? And these tiny little short sessions we have.
Yeah.
We can only do so
Okay.
much. Yeah. So, but if you want to email us, go right ahead,
Okay.
and somebody probably today will get back to you about that.
Okay,
Yeah, so
thank you very
basically,
much.
yeah, you're welcome. Because as you'll see, if you do limit, this is a project of the library, is to fix this database list just because essentially it's way too broad. So you pick biology, but it has everything, like like almost all the databases anyway, so it's a little bit less useful. So yes, getting in touch with us for specific help is probably a good idea. Oh, and I do see we have another question. Yeah, Antoinette? You can go ahead. Oh, you're on mute. I can't hear, unfortunately. I can just see it's showing your microphone is muted. So yeah, I'm not able to hear. So in the meantime, I'll just answer a quick question from chat. So one of the questions is there a way that we can listen to the reading material and make it audible? That's a good question. If you have specific learning disabilities, you can contact the ASD. But in general, some of the databases do have text-to-speech, but you'll usually have to download the HTML or the PDF. I'm not an expert in that technology, but you can download a PDF, and then usually you can get it speech-to-text software. But you can get in touch with the Office for Students with Disabilities. I forget what it's called, and they will help you with that. So, yeah, sorry, Antoinette, maybe you can put the question in chat? Because yeah, we're still not able to hear you, unfortunately.
I have my hand up. Do you mind if I just talk while we
Oh yeah,
wait for
sure.
Antoinette?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
And then Antoinette, if you look on your screen, maybe your mic's where mine is, which is like the top right corner. I'm not sure. But Jennifer, thank you for this presentation. And also I've emailed and asked for articles, and the library folks have been so helpful, so thank you. But in this presentation, we're talking about EBSCOhost and maybe JSTOR and a couple other things at the same time. Is that going to be in a handout? It was just too fast for me, but I can also just do a replay, or that was of interest to me, but I was like, where are we at? And also I just dropped into the chat the services link to do the application for accessibility services.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, it takes time. I've done it, and they said it was a 4 to 6 week wait, and it was about an 8 to 10 week wait. So patience is a virtue of that one.
We're essentially all understaffed at this university, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in that case, so specifically they're just, I'm not sure what the question is because we have a bunch of different databases. So like what is the
Yeah.
specific issue?
It's not an issue, but you were saying things about the difference between EBSCO and another one, and you said some things about metadata. I didn't understand it all, but it was just like about how to search within them.
Okay, yeah.
And the
So
best
yeah, so
ones. You're like, these are the best two to look for, and yeah.
Right, right. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So and if you're able to come to the session next week too, I can explain that again. But basically it's the main search tools are going to be Discover for a broad search, but because EBSCO and ProQuest are basically, and this is the issue in all libraries, EBSCO and ProQuest are rival companies, so they don't want to share data. So it's ProQuest. If you go to find databases and type in ProQuest or ProQuest Global, and again, we're working on this database list, but ProQuest Global. So I would say if you're doing a general literature search, not a specific scoping review, if you go to ProQuest Global and Discover, that'll cover a lot of your bases. And I didn't even touch on Google Scholar, which I will talk about a bit next week too. But there are many, many places to find literature. So
okay,
yeah,
great. No,
but that's the main one, yeah.
Thanks.
So, oh, I guess Antoinette is going to try again. So Google Scholar isn't really a database. It's basically just, it's searching the web for scholarly materials. It's very, very useful. And I'm going to talk about that next week. Essentially, it's not really a database and it's not easy to search, but it's extremely valuable for like literature reviews, for example, and finding out the latest materials out there and for finding something. So I see, Johannes, you have a question, and I believe Antoinette has just logged back in. So maybe we'll see if Antoinette if your microphone is working?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yep. Oh no, maybe you can't hear me. So I am able to hear you. I wonder if it's just easier if you type the question in chat.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay. So I was
yes,
asking
there we go.
what if you want to do a research about counseling women? So how do you go through it?
Well, it depends. Like, I mean, that's a big topic, right? So what you would generally do is you have to narrow it down. So what is, like, say, counseling women? That's a very, very broad topic. If you did like a Discover search on that, you'd be massive.
Okay. Let's say you're searching on women and gender studies.
Okay.
Yeah. So you need to search something on women and gender studies. So how?
So it all depends on your assignment and your topic. So basically, if you're doing like a so you're cutting out a little bit. So in general, so what you would want to do really is just you have to. It's based on the assignment you're doing. So if you're basically doing a general undergraduate paper on a specific topic, and again, in 2 weeks from now, Joanna will talk more about developing a search strategy. But essentially, you want to come up with keywords that describe your topic. So if it's like say counseling women in abusive relationships, you could say women or female or girl, and then you do counseling and domestic violence or domestic abuse, that kind of thing. So you break it up into keywords, and then I would generally say you can start and Discover, and then if you're finding a lot of material there or not enough, it's basically a process of refining your search as you go. So it's kind of hard to describe in one like really quick soundbite, but basically
because the information is a lot. It's too much for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, and you'll find so much. So what you want to do is narrow your search as well. So there are limiting tools, so you can limit by publication date. And I also recommend looking at the subject headings that are associated with articles, because they will tell you exactly what the database uses to describe things. And also I might suggest, okay, once you've done a Discover search and a ProQuest search, maybe you're not finding a lot of material, you might want to go, or you're finding too much, maybe look specifically in like a psychology database and then do the search there and then see what parameters they have, because they might have different subject groups or study groups, that kind of thing. In terms of say a psychological study, they might have different age groups you can narrow by, gender, that kind of thing. So if you are really struggling still, you can honestly hop on chat or email the library, and our reference librarians can help you as well with that. So again, it's sort of a matter of just starting out, and then if you need detailed help, contacting the library.
Okay, I was a little bit late. How do you go? How do you do to get to the library? Is that
Okay.
a way? Is that yeah? I was a
Um,
little bit late.
Yeah, I'll just send you the link to the homepage. So there's a link to the homepage, and also if you are on just the library website, or sorry, the Athabasca website itself, you can see a library link at the top there. So so if you'll see the very, very top of the Athabasca page, a tiny, we want to be more prominent, but there you are, a tiny button that says library, and that's how you can get there. And again, you'll see our contact information. You can email
Okay.
us. We can help you out. Yeah, so anything you need. We're running out of time, so I think I'll have Johannes ask his question, and then we'll maybe have to wrap it up. But if you want to go ahead, Johannes.
Thank you, Jen, for the
Oh, you're
presentation.
welcome.
It's very helpful. I just wanted to ask a quick question. Is there like a limit of articles that we can print out or download at a time?
Nope. There shouldn't be. So if you're just doing a search and you're finding individual articles from different databases, you can just print, download them. It's just fine. The only time you'll have limitations is if you're downloading book chapters. So ebooks have a very different set of rights, and so usually you can only download or print like 10% of it or 5%. Typically, if you're finding an ebook chapter online, or not online, sorry, in our databases, you can usually download one chapter at a time. But there should be no limit in terms of articles and things like that. Yeah, and again, if yep, so hope that answers your question.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, have a good one.
You're welcome.
Yeah, bye now.
Yeah, thanks, you too. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I will stop the recording.